Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another video. Now, I've been thinking about doing this video because, we all have come across fragrances that cost so little, and when you smell them, you think, well, I haven't paid much for this, but it actually smells really good. And there are quite a few fragrances like that. So I thought I'll do a video because this is going to help people who are just beginning to collect, and this is also going to help people who really like creative fragrances. See, the thing is, fragrances, right? If you look at the evolution of fragrances, they were, in the last century, they were luxury items. So when you paid for a fragrance, you were actually buying a luxury item. Hence, the fragrance was created to tell you a story. If you fast forward to current times, they all smell almost similar, right? Designer fragrances. And they have very little layers of, sort of evolution. They don't tell you a story. They're trying to do one thing and one thing only. They're trying to appeal to the younger masses who have very little experience, both sexes, and they come off very boring and one-dimensional. You must have seen, I have reviewed bucket loads of modern fragrances, and I've hardly been able to give them more than 6 or 7 maximum. So I'm going to show you some fragrances today, 10 of them. They have a story to tell you, they're interesting, and they don't cost too much money in most cases. But before I go into the video, what do you think of my haircut? It's been 5 months since I've had a haircut. Proper fade, right? Loved it. And these are the small things in life which make you feel that, they are luxuries sometimes, but they make you feel that you're living. Couldn't have a haircut, couldn't go and see my friends. It's just this virus has been a sort of a wake-up call. You don't appreciate these things until they're taken away from you. Just having a haircut is such a luxury. It's just, I loved it. And I also thank my stars that I'm able to appreciate such small things. But anyways, let's get into this video. I'm going to start off this video from a house which I have the most respect for, Guerlain. And most of the Guerlain fragrances give you tremendous value for money. They give you something more than just, pure blue scents, linear scents, uninteresting fragrances. They give you something, yeah? This one is probably the best later Guerlain. I call it the last of the great Guerlain because this is truly great. Obviously, there have been newer fragrances, but they're a little bit nuanced. This one is an outstanding fragrance. I've done a full review, and this is L'Instant de Guerlain. The bottle you see in front of yourselves is a vintage bottle. Nowadays, they come in the Listerine type bottles. I'll not show you the fragrance, but I'll tell you the bottle when I show you. There's another Guerlain in this list. And this fragrance is basically a masterpiece. It has aspects that you don't get to smell in modern fragrances. It's bitter, it's creamy, it's nutty, it's spicy, it's earthy. It's an absolutely fantastic fragrance for people who like to challenge themselves, who like to experience new things. They're just not after compliments, hence they're not going to bow down to this whole Ambroxan, ISO-E crowd. They want to smell different, they want to experience perfumery. It's for them. And it's a tremendous value for money fragrance. It's just refreshing and beautiful. You can wear this in any season, although when you smell it, you think that it's going to be a cold weather fragrance. But trust me, if you wear this in summer, evening time, now daytime will be too much. Evening time, you'll see how beautiful this has been composed. Absolutely fantastic composition. Lidge is the first fragrance, which I think is basically a niche quality fragrance in a designer bottle. And to just prove my point, there's a fragrance by Frederic Malle, and it's called Dries Van Noten. I've done a comparison video, I think I have, and that fragrance basically tries to do a Lidge. Yeah, believe it or not. So that's the prestige Lidge has. Try and get the vintage bottle. If not, the current formulation is equally good. Guerlain hardly ever plays with its composition. So that's the first one. The second one is also a Guerlain. It's a fragrance which basically celebrates the legacy of Guerlain. It was created in the 1990s. It was an EDT that they released. I've got the EDP here. I've reviewed this one. This fragrance is another masterpiece of a fragrance. Doesn't cost a lot of money, but the moment you smell it, you will realize that you got a story here, an interesting story. Heritage EDP. It's basically grandfather or father of Lidge, but this is very different. It's got many notes, 22 notes I believe. It's so complex and so beautifully made that even Roger copied it. And Roger's Danger is basically a copy of Guerlain Heritage. You pay 250 or 500 pounds for that. You have to pay 50 pounds for this, and it smells outstanding. Only thing is, this is slightly mature, it's complex, so you have to have a little bit of a patience, a little bit of curiosity to learn. Yeah? Heritage. Done a full review, and I've also done a comparison video. Actually, I've only done a comparison video with Roger's Danger. You can check it out. This is a fabulous fragrance. Again, it's the same elements. It's creamy, chocolatey. There's cacao here. There is a fantastic spicy patchouli here. It's fabulous. Really, really good. Check it out. So those are the two absolute niche quality fragrances in a designer bottle. The next one is a fragrance which was released way back in 1920s. The fragrance that I've got here in this list is an EDP incarnation which was released in this century, I think 2015, and it's a very complex fragrance. It's not for everybody. It's released for women, but it's pretty masculine, and it's called Habanita Oripaffam by Molinard. Now this fragrance, one sniff, and if you like complex fragrances, multi-layered fragrances, one sniff and you know you're in for a treat. This fragrance has vetiver as the center note, and along with that they have got many notes like matte and things like that. This is basically dark and bright at the same time, smoky and creamy at the same time, sweet and bitter at the same time. Very complex fragrance. This is a fragrance that I have to review, yeah, and I will review it. Let it get a little bit cooler if you like really complex, smoky, creamy, complex fragrances. Habanita is one fragrance that you have to try. Absolutely fabulous. Next on my list is a fragrance that I've reviewed recently, and I called it a masterpiece then. It still is a masterpiece. Almost gave it a 10 out of 10. This is a Prada, and this is Prada Amber Purom Intense. One sniff. You can get it for about 40-45 pounds. One sniff. This is a dark, soapy, chocolatey fragrance. One of a kind. It's got so many notes in it. Myrrh is the central note with amber, and obviously there's a soapy element to it, which I think is patchouli if I can remember correctly, and cacao, chocolatey cacao. One sniff is all it'll take. If you like complex fragrances, do check this one out. Absolutely brilliant fragrance, fellas. Absolutely brilliant. Huge value for money. Yeah, they don't do it like this anymore, but do try it. Superb autumn fragrance. Yeah, absolutely superb. Autumn and spring. Next on my list is a fragrance which I've reviewed recently. It's discontinued and hence quite expensive now, but I got it for 45 pounds for 125 ml. It's a it's an absolute masterpiece. Jean-Paul Guerlain. This is Le Male Fleur Du Male. Again, what a fantastic combination of notes. So they've got neroli and petitgrain. So it's soapy and bright and refreshing. And in the heart is the Le Male DNA. So this beautiful creamy lavender, which is cool and creamy. And in the base of the fragrance, if I remember correctly, there's this amazing, amazing calm chamomile. Superb fragrance, guys. Absolutely beautiful, brilliantly made. I've done a full review. This is an in-between weather fragrance, so spring and autumn, even winter. Give it a try. Although, very difficult to get hold of because it's quite expensive nowadays. Well, next on my list is just an outstanding fragrance. But it starts off smelling very synthetic, and that's why people get a little turned off by it. It's a Thierry Mugler. It's pure Havane. Now this fragrance is widely talked about as a tobacco fragrance. In my experience and to my nose, it is a tobacco fragrance. But that's not the reason why this is spectacular. This is a fragrance that uses styrax and labdanum like a treat. And when you get styrax and labdanum, what do you get? You get an amber accord. To my nose, this starts off like a cherry tobacco, like everybody says, but it doesn't evolve into a cherry tobacco fragrance. It turns into an amber fragrance. Outstanding. I did a recent review of this fragrance. This is a compliment magnet as well, because off air, in the air, it smells so beautiful. It's masculine and it's interesting. It's so interesting that Zhezhov copied it. They created Naxos, and Naxos is probably, excuse me, 5 times as expensive as pure malt. Try it, fellas, if you can. I've heard the recent formulation has, medium performance, 5 hours maximum. This one, different story. Long projection performance, beautiful fragrance. But the thing is, these sort of fragrances can give you olfactory fatigue. So that could be one of the reasons. Best way to test it, spray it on your curtain or put it on a piece of tissue paper, leave it in the room, come back in after a few hours when you've been out. If you can smell it, that means others can. So do that test. I think this is quite a strong fragrance. Well, 4 to come, 6 gone. Next on my list is a fragrance that created Jean-Claude Ellen's career. It's one of those fragrances which when you smell it, you think, my God, this is what he created, and it's just outstanding. So it's Cartier Declaration. This fragrance is just a magnum opus. This fragrance is the sexiest masculine fragrance money can buy. The only thing is it uses a note of cumin. Cumin can come across as body odor. So if you are really sensitive towards cumin, do test it out. But if you can tolerate cumin, you're in for a treat. This is where Jean-Claude Ellen created his famous accord, that bitter, fluidy, airy orange that you will smell in so many other fragrances. This is basically a bitter orange fragrance with a fantastic cardamom and an amazing cumin note. I love cumin. It doesn't turn into body odor for me. It's spicy, it's zesty, and it's got a fabulous note of birch tar, which is just amazing. It's a proper, classical, complex, masculine, amazing fragrance. Ideal for spring, smells the best in spring or autumn. I recently reviewed it. Check it out. You pay very little money for this fragrance. I tell you, it's an absolutely fantastic fragrance. Again, there is another cheapie coming up. This is again one of those fragrances. You mention the name and there will be huge amounts of fan. And the fan base of this fragrance is tremendous. This was created by Anik Manado, and this fragrance is Boucheron Jaipur Purom EDP. I've got both the versions. I really enjoy the EDP because this is basically a celebration, scent of celebration in a bottle. It smells as if the festivities are around the corner. It's the most beautiful use of benzoin. Benzoin should smell like vanilla, but there's more tarty element to this. So this starts off like a citrus fragrance because there are tons of citruses here. Bergamot, lemon, this, that, and the other. It's very citrusy. And then it changes into a very creamy, smooth, vanillic fragrance with huge amounts of cinnamon. Cinnamon also has this texture of leather. This is a very complex, very beautifully made fragrance with cardamom. Quite gentlemanly, almost gourmand, oriental gourmand. Beautiful, very interesting story. And this is suitable for slightly mature gentlemen, 35 plus. But do try it out. And autumn is the best season to wear this. Once you smell something like this, you know that you don't have to pay silly money to enjoy great fragrances. There's a note of carnation here, which can make or give this fragrance a little bit of a classical vibe. So that's Boucheron Jaipur EDP. Second last on my list is an absolute masterpiece. Reviewed that one as well. I think I've reviewed everything in this list apart from Habanita is the only fragrance I've not reviewed. Yeah, Habanita is the only fragrance I've not reviewed in this list. Rest all have been reviewed. My God, this next fragrance is an Hermes. It's a fabulous fragrance. It's a current fragrance. It is Bellamy Vetiver. When you smell this, you know straight away you're smelling something which is niche quality straight away. Leather. Outstanding leather with outstanding vetiver and elemi. LME is a superb note, but very few fragrances execute LME like they've done here. One sniff and you will be convinced this is a niche quality fragrance. It's a proper uber masculine, interesting, superb composition. It's just one of those fragrances that just lifts you. If you like leather, if you like classical fragrances, classical French perfumery with interesting aspects, you cannot beat Bellamy Vetiver. Just amazing. Done a full review, check it out. This is iconic. This will be iconic. Belami is already iconic. Well, comes the cherry on the cake. The last fragrance, the moment you smell it, you will know that you're smelling one of the most sexiest masculine fragrances ever created. It is Costume National Soul. Now this fragrance is my personal favorite. This is basically based around ambergris, and ambergris is a very expensive ingredient. So it's very radiant amber with super vanilla, oud, leather. It's just celebration of one of the most expensive notes in perfumery. You don't have to pay too much money. 85 pounds is all you pay for 100 ml. One sniff and it will become your all-time favorite. When you really want to shine, it will be something like Oripaffam, that sort of level, when you really want to shine, when you really want to impress people, this is what you bring out. It's just outstanding. Done a full review, check it out. Outstanding fragrance, really superb, well-made fragrance, outstanding really. You can tell I really like soul. So that's all done. So this is the first part. I'll do another part. I hope you liked the review, and I'd like to know from you which fragrance you think where you've paid very little money but it actually smells and gives you the satisfaction of an expensive fragrance, niche quality rather. So hope you enjoy the review. Take care. Bye bye.